Within 72 hours of Trump signing his Bitcoin executive order, 7 men who control 1.4 billion people held an emergency meeting in Beijing. They didn't meet to discuss Taiwan. They didn't meet to discuss trade. They met to discuss Bitcoin. Because what Trump signed wasn't a crypto policy, it was a declaration of economic war. And China's response will shock you. They're mobilizing resources on a scale that will reshape global finance forever. And if you don't understand what's happening right now, you're about to watch your savings get caught in the crossfire of the biggest currency war in human history. Look, I know what you're thinking. This is just geopolitics. This doesn't affect me. Wrong, dead wrong. Here, what's really happening? The United States and China are competing to control Bitcoin at the nation-state level. Not millions, billions of dollars are being deployed right now. And when the two largest economies on Earth race to acquire a fixed supply asset, 3 things happen. The price explodes. We're talking $500,000 to $1 million per coin by 2028. The dollar loses its dominance as the world's reserve currency. Your savings, whether in cash, bonds, or traditional assets, lose 30 to 40% of their purchasing power. This isn't a prediction. This is already in motion. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what China is doing, why they see Trump's order as an existential threat, and how to position yourself before it's too late. To understand why China is panicking, you need to understand one thing. For 75 years, America has dominated the world through control of the dollar. The numbers are staggering. 70% of international trade is settled in dollars. 60% of global central bank reserves are held in dollars. Want to buy oil? You need dollars. Want to access global banking? You need dollars. But here's the weapon. If America doesn't like you, they can cut you off. Sanctions on Russia, sanctions on Iran, freezing Afghanistan's reserves, cutting countries off from SWIFT. Every time America does this, the rest of the world realizes they're vulnerable. Their wealth can be confiscated if they displease Washington. For decades, they've been searching for an alternative. China tried to internationalize the yuan. It failed. The yuan is only 2.7% of global reserves because nobody trusts the Communist Party not to manipulate it, until Bitcoin. Bitcoin is different. It's stateless, decentralized, fixed supply at 21 million coins. No government can print it. No military can seize it if it's properly secured. For China, Bitcoin represented the perfect escape from dollar hegemony, a neutral asset the world might actually adopt. But then Trump made his move. On January 23, 2025, Trump signed an executive order creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve. The media called it pro-crypto. Wall Street celebrated. Bitcoin pumped. Everyone thought this was about American innovation. They were wrong. This was about weaponizing Bitcoin the same way America weaponized the dollar. Trump declared America's intention to accumulate 1 million Bitcoin to turn Bitcoin into a dollar proxy, an American strategic asset instead of a neutral alternative. And China saw it immediately. Within 72 hours, the Politburo Standing Committee, the 7 most powerful men in China, convened an emergency meeting. Not about trade, not about Taiwan, about Bitcoin. Because if America gets to 1 million Bitcoin first, China loses everything. They lose the dollar system they were trying to escape, and the Bitcoin alternative they hoped would replace it. So China is responding, and their counterstrike is happening on 4 fronts right now. Remember when China banned Bitcoin mining in 2021? That was a lie. Well, partially. They banned private mining, but state-controlled mining continued. Government-linked entities, state-owned power companies, Military-adjacent firms, they kept mining through VPNs and foreign-registered pools. Estimates suggest China has been secretly mining 50,000 to 150,000 Bitcoin since the ban, held in wallets controlled by the People's Liberation Army Strategic Support Force. But here's what just changed. Within 1 week of Trump's order, China quietly lifted restrictions on state-controlled mining. No announcement, no official policy change, but provincial governments received directives. State-owned power companies can now allocate surplus electricity to Bitcoin mining, and China generates more electricity than any country in history, 28,000 terawatt-hours per year. Much of it coal power in remote regions that's essentially wasted. Not anymore. China is now targeting 20 to 30% of global hash rate by the end of 2026. That's 140 Bitcoin per day, 51,000 Bitcoin per year. Within 3 years, China could control 250,000 to 300,000 Bitcoin just from mining. China holds $3.2 trillion in foreign exchange reserves. They've been quietly reducing their US Treasury holdings from $1.3 trillion to $731 billion today. They've been buying gold over 1,000 tons in the last 3 years. But now they're buying Bitcoin, not through exchanges, through over-the-counter desks, where large buyers can acquire Bitcoin without moving the market, through intermediaries in Singapore, Hong Kong, and Switzerland, shell companies, sovereign wealth fund proxies. Intelligence sources suggest China has purchased 50,000 to 80,000 Bitcoin since late January, at an average price around $90,000 to $100,000. That's $5 to $8 billion, a rounding error in China's reserves. But here's the terrifying part. China has authorized up to $30 billion for Bitcoin acquisition over the next 3 years. That could be 250,000 to 300,000 Bitcoin. Combined with mining, China could control 500,000 Bitcoin by 2028. That's half of America's 1 million target. China has been developing a central bank digital currency, the digital yuan, since 2014. Over 260 million people have used it. Over $100 billion in transactions. The problem: nobody outside China wanted to use it. It's surveillance money controlled by the Communist Party. Until now. China is now positioning the digital yuan as Bitcoin-backed. Not fully backed, but partially. The digital yuan will be redeemable for Bitcoin at official exchange rates. This is brilliant. It makes the digital yuan more attractive than pure fiat, while maintaining government control. And it creates a direct challenge to the dollar, because the dollar is backed by nothing except US military power. If China offers a Bitcoin-backed digital yuan for international trade, countries like Russia, Iran, Venezuela, Pakistan, and parts of Africa will be very interested. Every trade settled in digital yuan is a trade not settled in dollars. BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, plus Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia. UAE represents 45% of global population and 35% of global GDP. After Trump's executive order, China is now proposing a BRICS Bitcoin reserve, a collective pool where each nation contributes. Bitcoin based on GDP. Target: 500,000 to 1 million Bitcoin collectively. This reserve would back BRICS trade. When Brazil sells soybeans to China, payment is settled in BRICS currency units backed by Bitcoin. No dollars needed, no SWIFT required, no American control. This is the nightmare scenario for American dominance, a parallel financial system that allows half the world to trade without dollars. Let me show you how this plays out. 2025, the opening moves. Trump signs the order in January. China responds with mining mobilization and shadow purchases. Russia announces it will accept Bitcoin for oil and gas. Saudi Arabia quietly begins accumulating through sovereign wealth funds by year-end. America holds approximately 150,000 Bitcoin. China holds approximately 150,000. Russia holds approximately 50,000. The race is tied. 2026. The acceleration. America ramps up to 400,000 Bitcoin. Total. China increases mining to 25% of global hash rate and reaches 300,000 Bitcoin. BRICS. Bitcoin reserve is formalized with 600,000 Bitcoin collectively. The Middle East starts accepting Bitcoin for oil. 5% of payment, then 10%, then 15%. The petro-Bitcoin system is born. The petrodollar system starts dying. 2027, the crisis year. Bitcoin surges to $300,000 per coin. America reaches 650,000 Bitcoin, but the deficit is exploding, borrowing $5 trillion per year. China announces the digital yuan is officially backed by Bitcoin reserves. This is the monetary nuclear option. Countries switch to digital yuan. Russia, Iran, Venezuela, Pakistan, large parts of Africa, 20% of global trade now conducted outside the dollar system. The dollar share of global reserves falls from 58% to 50% for the first time in 75 years. The dollar is no longer the majority reserve asset. 2028 and beyond. The new order. Bitcoin stabilizes around $500,000 to $1 million per coin. Nation-states collectively hold over 3 million. Bitcoin, 15% of all Bitcoin that will ever exist. The global monetary system is bifurcated. Western system, dollar-based. US Treasuries, NATO allies. Eastern system, BRICS-based. Bitcoin backing. China sphere. Both systems use Bitcoin as the neutral settlement layer. When West trades with East, final settlement is in Bitcoin. This is the new Bretton Woods. Except instead of the dollar as sole reserve, Bitcoin is the neutral reserve. So who wins and who loses? Winners. China escaped dollar dominance, created a multipolar system where they have equal influence. Russia, energy dominance converted into Bitcoin wealth. Sanctions become irrelevant. BRICS nations gained monetary sovereignty, no longer forced to use dollars. Early Bitcoin holders. When Bitcoin hits $500,000 to $1 million, they're generationally wealthy. Gold holders who also held Bitcoin. Gold goes to $10,000 Oz. Bitcoin to $1 million, losers. The United States government lost absolute dominance. Dollar lost 30 to 40% of purchasing power. Dollar holders' cash and dollar-denominated bonds destroyed by inflation. European Union caught between American and Chinese systems. Euro remains regional. People who sold Bitcoin early sold at $50,000, watched it go to $1 million, missed the greatest wealth transfer in history. Traditional investors. Stocks and bonds performed poorly. Real returns deeply negative. The question isn't whether this will happen, it's whether you'll position yourself correctly. Listen carefully. This currency war is happening whether you participate or not. Your personal Bitcoin holdings are irrelevant to nation-states, but your personal wealth is absolutely affected by the outcome. Here's what you need to do. First, understand that when nation-states compete to acquire a fixed supply asset, the price goes up. The run to $1 million per Bitcoin isn't speculation, it's mathematics. Second, don't hold Bitcoin on exchanges. Move it to self-custody. Hardware wallets, multi-signature, cold storage. If you control the keys, neither America nor China can confiscate it. Third, diversify jurisdictions. If you're American, consider holding some Bitcoin through foreign entities. If you're Chinese, get Bitcoin outside China. Fourth, hold 10 to 20% in gold as a hedge. Central banks are accumulating both. Fifth, expect extreme volatility. Don't panic. Don't try to trade it, just hold. The timeline is clear. 2025, opening moves. 2026, acceleration. 2027, crisis. 2028, new monetary order. The price target is $500,000 to $1 million by 2028, not because of retail adoption, because nation-states are competing for a finite asset. The currency war has begun. Trump fired the first shot. China is mobilizing the response. Bitcoin is the prize. Subscribe to this channel because I'll track every move in this war. Every Chinese policy shift, every BRICS announcement, every signal that tells you which side is winning. When this war ends, when the new monetary order is established, you'll either hold the asset both sides were fighting for, or you'll hold the currency the loser printed. The choice is yours. Position accordingly.